Welcome, beautiful people, to week 4 and essay week. We are here in American Lit, Unit 3. Scroll down to the black essay 1 folder and see that we have a discussion to start us off with Lincoln and Douglas's goals. You're welcome to read each other's after you have posted them. The goal here is to have textual evidence that those are their goals. Step 1, overview, prompt, and instructions is going to inform you of what this essay is about. So you are going to write an informative essay using research that looks at American history after the Civil War and answers this question. Did the nation achieve the goals that Douglas and Lincoln desired? You're going to want to start by researching the Civil War Reconstruction and what happened. How did a completely divided nation become unified? What about black people who were previously viewed as slaves and becoming citizens? How did that work out? That's where you'll start. Remember, an effective informative essay contains these elements, and most of these elements are actually standards that you need to hit, and they are listed in your assignments. You'll need a thesis statement that answers the question, yes or no, their goals were or were not achieved. Relevant facts and concrete details. They're going to expand. How were those goals achieved? How were they not achieved? You'll need extended definitions, quotes, and other examples. This is where you do your research. You want varied sentence structures so you don't just sound repetitive. Lincoln said, Lincoln said, Lincoln said. You want to adjust those sentences. You want to use precise and technical vocab. So think about making sure that you're using the correct and best words to say what you're saying. A formal style and objective tone. A formal style is that essay language that you use when you are writing papers versus conversational style. An objective tone, this is, you might be biased. You might be like, no, they never achieved their goals. There's no equality today, so people still feel like slaves. That's a great opinion, but you need to be objective. You need to sound more like Siri or Alexa, just stating the facts and not, this is not an argument. You're not necessarily trying to persuade, but you are giving facts that are proving your thesis. Lastly, a conclusion is going to need to support everything that you presented. So if you start with the thesis statement and then produce so much evidence that shows your thesis statement is wrong, change your thesis statement. Your conclusion should be able to go through all your evidence and show that you are proving what you aim to prove in your thesis. Step 2 is the first thing due. This is due Monday. Here are all these standards that you're hitting. You're going to want to open the Google Doc below and make sure that you fill in all boxes and tables. That's when you submit. So here's your link to the pre-writing and planning sheet. Click that, make a copy, and you will see that it starts with the assignment, asking the question again, just to guide you. And then based on the work that you read, you're going to write a draft of your thesis statement after you brainstorm. So thinking about Douglas's goals, he wanted to end slavery. Lincoln wanted to end slavery and unify the nation. So what's their shared goals? Are there differences in their goals? Then brainstorm what you already know. And also, just because there are bullet points doesn't mean you're going to fill in all of them. Douglas's goal. How did he achieve his goal? How was slavery ended? Some examples of how slavery wasn't ended. This is where your research of Reconstruction will help out. Same with Lincoln's goal. Slavery ended, did they unify the nation? How did they not unify the nation? Then write a working thesis. Based on the information you found here and where you want to go with your essay, answer the question, did they achieve the goals or not? This first thesis example talks about how they did. The second thesis example shows how they didn't. And the third one is kind of a mix of both. They achieved some but not others. So read those so that you can write your working thesis here. These are to guide you. You don't need to copy them. I'd prefer that you don't. Put it in your own words. But those are some examples that you might go from. So one thesis could say the nation did not or did achieve the goals of both Lincoln and Douglas through blank. How do we know? The next one, the United States still falls short of achieving Douglas and Lincoln's goals as seen in blank. How do we fall short of ending slavery and unifying the nation? And then lastly, the nation achieved Lincoln and Douglas's goal to blank, but not Lincoln's goal to blank. So where were they successful in ending slavery, but maybe not in unifying the nation? These are all options. Please choose one angle you want to take and write your thesis here. You will also take that information and submit this whole paper here. And after that, you'll want to take that working thesis and post it here in the comments so everyone can see each other's theses and have an angle from which to start research the next day. So Tuesday, we are going to research This one starts talking about history and where we've seen progress for and against the equality of African Americans, specifically using the language of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This should help some of you who want to argue that maybe there isn't total freedom. He helps to clarify the difference between freedom, equality, and slavery. And also in a passionate speech. Talking about how a website is legit. Obviously, you will choose A, B, C, or D, or multiple letters, but the idea there is it's not a .com, because .com stands for commercial. Commercial means they're trying to sell you something, so they're trying to persuade you. That's not where you're going to find facts. You'll also want to make sure that it's a respected publication where it's been published and educated people have read through that work and double-checked it to make sure it's true. The third step that you will submit is research and outline. Again, tons of standards we're hitting in this one. You'll need to open the Google Doc and fill in all the boxes and tables. You'll make your own copy of the research and outline. You are looking for these facts, statistics, definitions, quotations, examples. They will all strengthen your argument. You also can look at any of these events and documents. They will support your learning. These first ones are from earlier, closer to the end of the Civil War, and the rest of these are more recent history in the 1900s. You will also want to use this table as you gather your evidence. So here's an example of how. Your website goes here, the quote goes here, and your explanation goes here. So the example, we've got the link right here. We have the quote that could be used, and then an explanation in your own words of what that quote means. Remember, when you're quoting a text, you can't expect your essay's readers to think exactly the same as you about a quote, so you need to explain what that quote is saying and what that means for your argument. So, this one says, protesting segregation, they believed, failed to adequately address the poverty and powerlessness that generations of systemic discrimination and racism had imposed on so many black people, black Americans. So this was what the Black Power movement did. It doesn't even mention Black Power. So this explanation would be a good time to name that. So it does. It says the Black Power movement was a result of wanting more than the end of slavery and the end of segregation, as mentioned here. It doesn't address everything by just protesting segregation. They wanted power. They recognized that to be truly equal, they needed to end systems that keep them poor, undereducated, imprisoned, and therefore powerless. So, this is essentially a translation of this quote and what it meant in the whole article. This explanation is going to help build up your essay. So, this essentially, your explanation is going to connect the quote to your essay. So you'll need 3 pieces of evidence. The quotes go in the middle, your explanation goes on the right, because that will help you on your outline below. This is an example of how a quote is used in the text, using the launch text we read. These are examples of how to use a quote and a paraphrase. This is the outline from Zigzag Road to Rights. In paragraph 1, there's the thesis, and then the body paragraphs 2 through 8 use evidence, 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 great evidence. And then the conclusion, paragraph 9, is going to connect again back up to the thesis. Your outline needs at least 5 paragraphs, so I've created this table for you. You're welcome to use more, just like they have 9 paragraphs. This only has 5. You're welcome to add more. Starts with your thesis. Then you have a topic sentence. You'll have evidence and an explanation. Your first piece of evidence may not be this first piece of evidence. You might realize that whatever you found first during your research would actually work later. So pick the evidence that supports your argument, your information logically. So maybe you have a definition here and an event and an event. Well, a definition would make a lot of sense to go first. So your evidence and explanation go here. Then you have a new topic sentence to explain your body 2, evidence and explanation here. Same thing for body 3, and then conclusion is going to summarize everything that you found and how it's proved your thesis. So that's how the outline and research goes. Remember, this is due Tuesday, so if you have time to research this on Monday, that would definitely help you. So step 3 is finished. You are going to name which one of these you use in this discussion. Then you have your first draft, also known as a rough draft. You will share that with me first thing so I can see your progress and support you. Here's my address. That should help. And then after that, you have a quiz to show that you did or did not complete your first draft. That was due on Wednesday. And your final draft then is due Thursday. If you are rocking and rolling and still need time, we'll do this peer edit assignment instead. We'll peer edit Thursday and final draft will be due Monday. If you guys are moving really fast or not using research time wisely, your final draft will actually be due on Thursday. So remember, if you want to work hard and have an extra weekend to work on this, then work hard in class and don't waste your time. This is the final draft. Here's your checklist, what you need to accomplish. And that is the last thing in that folder. So, Essay 1 ends with a copy of the second inaugural address. What does it say was the 4th of July? And any Zoom classes that we have will be at the bottom here. So if you have any questions, shoot me an email, please, please, please. Anytime you're not sure what to do, just share a document with me. And then in the little message box when you share, say, hey, Britt, I want you to look this over. Or, hey, Britt, I have a question on number 3 or whatever. So, see you then.